Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Cheeky Natives. My name is Alma, aka Dr. Slay, and we have a very special guest on today's show. We have the ethereal, the unmatched Dudu Busani Dube. And if you don't know who I'm speaking about, I'm just curious as to what rock you've been living under, but we will drag you out of that rock with today's podcast. Hi Dudu, welcome to the show. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. I'm fine. I'm good.
Are you good?
Yeah.
Who is Dudu Busani Dube? We need to know who's the woman behind the Hlomu series. Like, I read this book as a backstory. I was on holiday with my friend. We were in Zanzibar. She's like, Alma, have you read Hlomu? I'm like, look, I've heard about Hlomu back from my days of this gossip blog I used to read. I won't reveal the names.
I know.
And like, no, I haven't had a chance to read Hlomu. She's like, she looked at me like she was shocked. She looked at me like, I thought I knew you, but I obviously don't. Who are you and why don't you know Ududu? So I'm like, oh, okay. I read Hlomu and I understood. I literally understood why she didn't believe that I didn't know the series. So who is Dudu Busani Dube?
Okay, I get asked that question a lot. I never know or how to answer it. It's just I can't just describe myself. But I'm 36.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a journalist by profession. I'm a news editor of a daily newspaper. I'm married. I don't have kids. I have always written, but also that's my day job. That's what I do for a living. But it's totally different from writing books. I'm a news person. I'm a hard news person, and reporting is different from doing news. So people think that if you're a journalist, you can't just automatically write a good book, and when in fact it's not like that. So basically, on a day-to-day, I'm in the news job kind of thing, and then I write my books on the side. It's something that I do on the side, but also I was always going to write a book. I mean, I studied journalism because I was told that I could write when I was in high school. So, but I did it until I was 33. That's when I wrote Hlomu, which was 3 years ago. It just started. I didn't sit down and plan and have a chart where I said, well, I'm gonna have Hlomu, she's going to be this and this and that, and then there's going to be Prele, it's going to be this and this and that. So I sat and I wrote, and I was having wine, and it just.
So take us through that whole journey, right? Because you are a news reporter by profession, and you write the Hlomu series as an outlet. Do you think that your job influences the way in which you write, or is it like two separate worlds, right? I mean, I imagine that news reporting, like you're saying, is very, very different to writing about the Zulu wives.
It's very different, and it's news reporting and writing are two different things. They're very, very different, and reporting is a skill. You don't. It's something that you acquire. So it doesn't mean that everybody who's a journalist can write. Some of them are just bad writers, good journalists, but bad writers. So it's I don't think that my work inspired or it contributed in any way to the way I write and the stories that I have. Because I could have just written about people I've met along my career. I was a court reporter for about 10 years in my career. So I could have just picked your Ananias Matters and you whatever. But I decided to write fiction because I wanted that space to just be creative and just make things up that actually relate to the society as it is today.
So I watched your interview, your Exclusive Books interview, and you were talking about how you went to high school in 94, and there was a library, and that was the first time that you encountered a library. And you're talking about these books, and we just need to throw back. These books that you were reading in high school, like the Sweet Valley Highs.
Yeah.
Did that shape the way that you write in any...
I think reading, just it got me reading when I was still very young. I think that it got me to just understand that I had a talent for writing and that I had to do it. But no, I mean,
you didn't find an inner Jessica.
Like I can't read them now. I could read them when I was in high school, but now I would just totally lost because they're not us. They don't.
We can't relate to that. Right?
I don't even think that kids that are teenagers now are reading those books.
So you spoke about how you studied journalism, and I think there's a perception that black people don't read, and the great thing about the Hlomu series is that we've come and sort of completely changed that perception. I mean, I was talking to a whole bunch of different women who read the Hlomu series. You know, I'm talking from doctors to marketers to anybody. Everyone reads Hlomu, you know. But I'm curious as to what exactly inspired you to go into journalism and what are the attitudes around, you know, at that time, black women going into a career like journalism. I don't think that it was well received, you know, at the time.
I actually studied journalism because it was the closest thing to writing. So when I was in matric, I didn't know what I wanted to study after high school. I was just there, and I was actually in the wrong school because I was in a science and commerce school. So there really was no space for us kids who were creative, who you know, we don't understand commerce, we don't understand maths, or just there. So you know, you just went through high school to pass. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. And of course, until my teacher said to me, "You're very good at writing. You should do something that is going to allow you to write." So that's why I studied journalism. It was that I had never even thought about it before I got to matric. So I studied journalism, but unfortunately, I've done pretty well in my career as well. So it's but it's always been it's not that male dominated. It's just that when you are in there, you know, it's very, I mean, there's a whole lot of patriarchy going on in terms of what you cover as a female journalist. You know, you'll find that men are more, they would easily choose a man to cover politics, and they will easily choose a woman to cover your lifestyle and your entertainment and your, but it's a problem. It's something that we have to deal with. So, okay. Have I derailed from the actual
No,
question?
it's fine. No, we are here. We are here for all of it.
Okay.
So you mentioned that you write on the side and you then still do your day job. How are you balancing those two? Because I mean, Hlomu, the series is a phenom, right? Everybody is trying to get hold of you. We all want a piece of it, dude. How are you managing to then keep your day job? I mean, also just in terms of the young black creatives who are listening, who might not have the resources to leave their current day jobs and then write full time, you know? So how are you managing to do all of these things?
Okay. And this is why there's no book for yet, because I did these books very quickly, the three of them. And at that time, I was just, my work was not that hectic because I was just reporting and I was doing my own things. So I would do my writing in my own time and my distribution of books in my own time. And then it changed. I just went higher in the career, and then the job got really
promotion value.
It went really hectic and frustrating. But I don't I can't say I can balance the whole thing. I can't balance anything anyway. I'm not the most organized person, but I manage. I work from I knock off at 8 p.m. at work. So that's how hectic my job is. And I get home, I try to eat and stuff, and I'm married. But I usually just go to bed at about 2 in the morning. That's
every day.
Almost every day, yeah.
And what time does your day start?
I don't ever. I'm at work by 9 or so.
Wow. Okay.
But I don't. But it's not. It's always been like that. Like I rarely ever sleep before midnight. So, but yeah, the another thing is that I'm equally passionate about my job. I think if I didn't like the job, I would have left a long time ago and just try to pursue the writing.
Just as a side, I think because we really need book 4, you should just take a hiatus. I think it's time for a sabbatical. You've done really well. Book 4 is waiting, maybe book 5. Do you think you have a book 5 in you? I've heard you say that you just want to write 4.
I'm gonna do 4, but just in the Hlomu series.
Okay.
And it's going to be the last one.
Okay.
Yeah,
I feel like you just told me that Santa doesn't exist. Do you know when you tell a small child that Santa doesn't exist? I think that's what Dudu just done to us, but it's fine. We'll expand on this.
Look, the story has to end.
Yeah.
Before, I also get tired of it and not, but I'm doing that. After that, I'm going to do other things.
Okay.
Other
book things.
Working on other. Yeah, I have other book things. I have a lot of things that have come my way because of the Hlomu series. A lot of projects that people have asked me to be involved in that I'm working on now, that are also in the creative film and all that. Okay. So that's where I am. But I'm going to do my last Hlomu book and then wait a little bit and start something else.
Okay. So speaking of Hlomu, the series, I need to know how you went from this blog, right? Because it started out as a blog. I think I'm revealing my age, but it's fine.
Yeah.
It started out as a blog, and then you released the books, and now you are in stores everywhere. So can people please stop asking us to send them the book? Just go buy the book, please, guys. Go to Bridge Books, which is where we're recording today. Yay! And that other e-book store. It's called Exclusives. I must just let everyone know. But there's really no excuse. You can honestly find your book everywhere, which is phenomenal, right? You started from a blog where women were emailing each other like, have you read this book? What's wrong with you? To being stocked everywhere,
Yeah. It wasn't exactly... I had not planned to open a blog. I wrote the book and I finished it. Mm-hmm. And then I had no idea what to do with it. I thought about getting a publisher, but then I would be like, they're not going to get me. They're not going to understand what I'm trying to say. And then I decided, okay, let me just open WordPress and just put 3 chapters just to try and, see how people are going to respond.
Okay.
And then, from there.
Were you ready for the response? What's the response been
I
like?
I don't know. I thought it would be just, something that people read and then get over and move on. And but that was 2014, and now it's 2018.
How long did it take you to write Hlomu?
It took longer because it was my first, and I didn't know the characters. I was still just developing them, so it took about 6 months or so. And the other 2, they didn't take that long.
Okay, so now, what is the best compliment that you have received about this book? Because, you hear people talk about this book all the time. Actually, just as an aside, when Dudu was walking in, there were 2 ladies that I was sitting talking to, and we were having a whole book club about it. And I think that just sums out the kind of response that you've had to your work, that women everywhere can relate. I think for someone who's grown up reading Sweet Valley High and all the stuff that we couldn't really relate to, the Hlomu series has just been amazing, right? So, what's the best compliments you've received? Just recently. I know you got one yesterday, Dudu.
Yeah, I get a lot, and I had to listen to people's stories about, what they got to learn from the book. But I got a call from my teacher last year, from the teacher who said I could write, and
that's beautiful.
So she somehow got hold of me. I didn't send the books. I would have sent her the copies, but it's very important for her to be impressed and proud. So I wasn't sure. I was like, what if she doesn't like them? So I didn't send her, but she did get the book. So then she called and she was like, I'm so proud of you. You went to Genita. I remember you were in my class. You're so good. That was like the best thing.
Oh, that just sounds great. I hope my English teacher is listening. Speaking of books that you've written, is there a book that you wish you'd written? Besides the Hlomu series, because I wish I'd written the Hlomu series.
Okay, I'm currently reading. I'm loving If I Stay Right Here by Kwaita.
Okay,
Have
I have read the book.
I love it. I love that it's just so. It's I mean, she just.
I was very angry with Kwaita about that book. And this is how you know you've written a brilliant book, right? Because I mean, at the end of Nalid, I was very angry with you. So, so this is how you know that someone's written a brilliant book, is that you feel emotions at the beginning, in the middle, at the end, you know. And I just didn't understand why she stayed with Sid. I was just like, Kwaita, tell this girl to break up with her.
I don't know. It was that, but their relationship is where it gets under your skin.
That's why I was very angry.
Yeah. So I'm currently reading it. I haven't finished it. I've had it for a while, and I love how she did it. But also I read Homegoing.
Okay.
And Homegoing is it's a story. It's I mean it's a story about slavery, but I just love how she did. I don't know how she did that with that book. How you can write about different people who've never met but are somehow connected, and they're from different generations, and your story just flows. So I'd love to do that. I probably won't ever try it. I think it's the most difficult style of writing. But yeah.
I think it's interesting that you said that, because I felt like when I was reading the Hlomu series, the story flowed, right? So if you haven't read the books, this is the encouragement to read it. The books flow, so you start with Hlomu, right? And I think the puzzle just falls into place as the story continues, right? So we're actually going to get into discussing the book. So Hlomu. The other day, someone said, two of my friends said I reminded them of Hlomu, and I personally felt offended. I felt so offended. I was like, Hlomu.
Was it about the way you look? Or the way
they were just saying in terms of personality, and I was just like, guys. And I think Hlomu really gets under my skin for a lot of reasons. I think a lot of us can see ourselves in Hlomu, right? Because particularly for black women, we come into situations and we fix. You know, that's our job. We come and we fix. And Hlomu walked into that and she just fixed. I mean, that household was a mess. They were such a mess. And Hlomu just comes and she fixes things, but Mkhele is great, but he's not great. And I think that their relationship just bugs me, you know? Like, he just bugs me. Mkhele annoys me. Because he's great. I think we all want him, Mkhele. But then, you know, Hlomu's meant to be the egg and the rock and this person that he values. But when things get rough, the first person he takes things out on is Hlomu. And Hlomu's like a no-nonsense, right? You see it in the way that she incites with other women in the books, where she calls everyone out. She's like, I don't like this girlfriend. And you know if Hlomu doesn't like you, it's late. You haven't made it. But she allows Mkhele to just continuously misbehave. And I really, Hlomu just bugs me. Like,
yeah. Well, that was the whole intention. No, I'm joking. It's, I think that, I mean, that's why we write books, you know, just to highlight the flaws in society, to get people to look at themselves and try to find their own flaws in that and see if they can correct them. So with the Hlomu, I don't think I'll ever write a book like Hlomu again, because it was my first book and everything was just honest and you know, it was there. I wasn't thinking about, you know, trying to match another book that I've written or but I wrote Hlomu just for that. It had to be raw. She had to make her own mistakes so that you could look at her and hate her and love her. And a lot of people felt like they were going through a relationship with Mkhele when they read the book. They felt like they were in a relationship with Mkhele. You know, they loved him. He loved
to hate him.
he had them. They dumped him. They forgave him. They you know, they did that, and I think, I mean, we all go through that. But Hlomu, I made Hlomu the way she is, and that's why she bugs a lot of people, especially when Mkhele hits her and she goes back
over and over.
So I made her the way she is on purpose. She's not a dumb girl.
No, she isn't.
She's very smart, and she's well aware of what is happening. You know, she's not a naive girl who thinks, oh, he's gonna change. Oh, you know, it was, and she doesn't make excuses for him. She just says, oh well, you know, I'm gonna go back. You know, she's decisive. She decides. It's her decision. It's not influenced by anyone. She just goes back to him. So I made it like that on purpose. So that she could get under your skin and make you people angry. and but you still like her.
You do, right? You still like Hlomu, and you don't know
and
why
you
you
still
like
root
Hlomu.
for them to.
Yes, you
to
still want
work
them when they
out.
break up. You're like, Hlomu, just for sorry. So he's gonna get better, you know. And I also think it's just a powerful commentary also on the way in which we look at abuse, right? I think that as a society, when we think of women who are abused or mistreated, you think that it's the woman who has nothing, who can't leave this
And
person.
you think they're stupid. They
Yes,
can't
you think
speak
she's
for
dumb, right?
themselves.
She was,
Yeah.
and I think that's the apology that people make for abusers. Was, no, he's only abusing this person because she doesn't have an option, she doesn't have an outlet. But that's not true for Hlomu. I mean, Hlomu comes from a great household, right? She has a great family, she has great relationships, she has this brother that. And for me, it's also a powerful commentary on the ways in which I think black families sort of have come full circle, you know? Because here is this very gay brother of Hlomu's who gets married, you know, and everyone is just accepting of that story. And he's there, and he's present, he occupies space. Even that very Zulu, very, you know, they're very masculine. The Zulus just accept Sulanga, you know, and Langa's true to himself.
I wanted to bring homosexuality in the book. And but I wasn't going to have a storyline where, you know, Langa doesn't have a good relationship with his father because he's gay, or you know, he gets to the Zulus and they have a problem with him because he's gay. And I think as much as that happens, you know, there's nothing wrong with painting a picture of something that's just, you know, easy, where people are not hostile to people who are homosexual, because it happens. It's not that everybody who is gay has to hide in a closet and not come out because they're scared of family. There are families who are very accepting, not that it's for them to accept somebody's, you know, sexuality. But I wanted to write a story that just doesn't go deeper into how bad it is because it's good something.
And it's just a powerful commentary as well, right? That we don't always have to pathologize people's being, right? Like the fact that he's gay, and everyone in the book is quite okay with that. And the story continues. And it's also just powerful for me because, I mean, the Zulu family is nothing like Hlomu's family. But Langa comes into their lives and just makes a stamp. You know, they can't have functions without Sulanga being there because Langa comes and just dominates. You know, Langa will bring a friend to come and host that wedding. You know, they are not going to have, they will wait for Langa. You know, it can't happen. And in a lot of ways, Langa really is that uncle. You know how everyone has that uncle where things can't start without that uncle. He's that uncle even though you wouldn't have imagined him to be
And
that
they want
uncle.
to be in touch.
Yes, and Dulang, we are parts, guys. Whether you are happy or not happy about that is not Langa's problem. So I'm also curious about Mandisa, and Mandisa really comes into the story as well. I mean, we don't really understand what Mandisa's tie to the whole relationship is, you know. And I'm curious as to why you wrote a character like Mandisa, why she came into the story, you know, because the Zulu woman, they have a type, right? They have a type, we just don't see it, but as the story continues, you see that they have a type. They like these girls from good families who have things going for them, you know. But Mandisa is just the complete polar opposite of all of that, you know.
Okay. Mandisa is... I wanted to... With Mandisa, I wanted to bring... Because their past is not... I mean, their past... You really get to know who they were before Hlomu exactly. But I had to bring somebody... They had to come into the story with someone from their past. You know, even in Hlomu. But also, I wanted to tell Goba's story. Honestly, he didn't love her, she didn't love him, they were just, you know, there. But I really she was there just to show the other side of the family. The color is nice, but it hits, you know, that's the negative thing about him. But also the brutality of the family on its own, where they are not in front of Hlomu's eyes, when they are not loving and when they are not being good fathers. I think Goba just gives everybody an insight to that part of who they are.
And I think it's also just interesting because it's, for me, I was reading Una Lady when that whole hashtag #MeToo was coming out, and people were like, no, I know this person, he could never be this and this to you, right? Because to me he's not that. But I mean, the Zulu brothers are a perfect example of that, how someone can be loving and kind to you but be the complete polar opposite to somebody else, you know. I mean, if you read that letter that she wrote, I was just clutching my pearls the whole time. I'm like, what? Who? Kawe never. Kawe is so great. What do you mean? And it's true, right? That people are flawed. Inherently, people are flawed. Someone can be extremely great to you, but be a monster to somebody else, and that doesn't invalidate your experience of them. But it also does mean that it's not true that they were a monster to that person. And Mandisa's letter for me is just, you know, when you sit and you drink tea. Mandisa was spilling the tea with that letter.
I think Mandisa had experienced all their bad sides.
Yes.
So because they didn't want her, they didn't love her, and if they don't love you, they don't love you. And you know, they didn't love her, they didn't want her there. She was holding them at ransom because she had this thing, this hold over them. So you know, I think that they were in totally different places with Hlomu. That's why she did not like Hlomu much, because she had everything that she
couldn't have, right? So Zandile she's resolute, but I think out of everybody, I really struggled with Zandile, and I think that was the purpose of the book, right? I mean, Hlomu's easy to understand. Hlomu's great. She's a little bit spoiled, so she can be annoying. She's bossy, but she's great. You're drawn to liking somebody like Hlomu, right? Whereas with Zandile represents maybe that chapter of our lives that nobody wants to read out aloud, you know? Zandile is a woman with a history, but she also forces you to really rethink your ideas of the length that you would go for the people that you love, you know? If you were in Zandile's position, are you sure that you wouldn't have behaved in the way that she behaved, you know?
I would have.
I definitely would have. And reading that made me really empathize with Zandile. I was like, I understand. Oh, Zandile, you're annoying, but I understand. Because, I mean, she's cold, right? Zandile comes into the story and she's cold. She doesn't cry. She doesn't cry. Things happen to her. She throws things at people. And I'm like, Zandile, really? Why are you throwing salads at people? But I want to know why you wrote Zandile the way that you wrote it. I mean, we go from Hlomu, who's just, Hlomu's loving. Hlomu's the woman you take home to meet your family. Zandile, maybe not so much.
I think that if I had not written Zandile, the story, the series would have lacked. I don't know how to pronounce the word. It's that word that I don't know how to pronounce. Depth. Yeah. How do I pronounce it? Depth.
Yes.
Yeah. It would have lacked that. I think there's so much content in Zandile as well. I know a lot, and there are people who relate to Zandile, really relate to Zandile the book. And
she's a polarizing figure.
People who don't have, they just don't. But it's also, it was the book that tested me the most emotionally. I worked the hardest in Zandile, because there are places where you don't want to go, and I had to go, the abuse and all of that. But I knew who Zandile was, and I knew exactly how she reacted to situations. It was intentional that she'd be cold because of the things that she had gone through. So I made her cold on purpose, and I made her a fighter, and I made her be that girl that is Gosada's, F. That no matter where it goes, because I wanted her to have that. She went through the worst. But she has this person who will never ever leave her. I mean, that's the thing that she really has. And if she wants, she can just make that, her whole life, her whole being, and just make it revolve around Gosada. So I made it like that on purpose. And I also wanted, because she's from their past, I also wanted to use a story to just tell everyone who these guys are, how they got to where they are, and the things they had to sacrifice, and the things she had to sacrifice to get there. And I actually relate more to Hlomu. Because there's a lot of me in Hlomu. But then I like Zandile. She would be someone that I would have in my life if she was real, of course.
And also, it's interesting because Uzandi is like beautiful, right? She's this beautiful woman who walks into places and people's jaws drop because she's just so beautiful. Then she has this personality where you're like, Zandile, your personality and your face are just such a mismatch. You would expect that the way that Zandile is so beautiful and just people cannot actually believe that this is a real person. She's crafted. You describe her in the books as being, Naledi says, who is this crafted being, And Zandile then goes on to be a fighter. She goes on to be this person who's just never had things handed easily to her, And I thought that mismatch of personality and face and the things that she's gone through was just so interesting because you really root for Zandile, When that newspaper comes out, you're angry. You're as angry as Zandile. Like, come on, guys, can she just catch a break? And it feels like Zandile can never, ever catch a break. Eventually, as a story, but we don't want to give away too much of the story.
Yeah, we don't know. Maybe, she's still going to go through stuff. But... And with Uzandile, the thing about it is that when I was writing the book, I always, with Hlomu, there were times where I didn't know how she was going to react to things. I had to just sit and say, should she do this? Should she do that? Should she do that? With Uzandile, she was always going to fight. If she was faced with something, I always knew as I was writing that, okay, now her reaction is to fight. She fights and she fights until she wins. And I think also just the fact that she's very, very beautiful. She's not going to be that girl who just sits and say, I'm pretty, I can get anything I want. And I didn't want to have a character like that who just, rides on her beauty wave.
So Zandile's story for me is also a commentary on the ways in which society enables abuse, right? And I thought that was very important that you touched on gender-based violence and the ways in which families sort of cover things. Like, that things are happening, but you cover things. And Zandile's family, right? You read the story and you're particularly disturbed. I was disturbed by her father, but it was also then the realization that her mother was a known participant and an enabler, And then not only does she enable this abuse, right? You then discover that the mother is also a victim of abuse. And for me, it's just that perpetual cycle of rape culture and the ways in which we really enable the abusive men in our lives, So you are a victim of abuse. You then allow your daughter to be a victim of abuse. You then want to add and compound this abuse. You call neighbors to come and help you abuse this child of yours who's been abused. Is there a reason why you chose to make that?
Yeah, I did wanted to just, when you read the book, just to see the trail. Because Zandile's mother was, she was a girl in the village. And Zandile's father was pursuing her, just trying to get her to be his girlfriend. And she kept saying no, he raped her. And she didn't say anything, she kept quiet. She got pregnant. And when she got pregnant, when the family asked who had gotten her pregnant, she told them that, no, it's that guy, that Gobo guy who raped me. And then her father says, well, you're pregnant now, I have no use for you, you're not a virgin, who's going to marry you? And he takes her to Zandile's father's house and says, you got her pregnant,
deal with it.
Take her, she's your wife, you're gonna have to marry her. And those things happen. So they happen. So I just wanted to, when you read that, just to see the trailer, just to also understand, although you can never wholly understand it, you can never justify what her mother did. But I just wanted you to understand where she also came from. And just see how she ended up just lying there and having her abuser abuse her child as well. And it could also be that the fact that she didn't love the child because she didn't want the child, because the child reminded her of what was done to her. So and that also happens a lot with our parents, especially with mothers who just abandon their kids because it was not their choice to have.
I think you write a lot, speaking about mothers, you write a lot about imperfect mothers, Naledi's mother is not great. She's really not great. Zandile's mother is also not great. Hlomu's mom she's nice, Hlomu's mom she's nice. She's not.
Man.
And the things
She's
that Hlomu,
frigid.
she's frigid, right? Hlomu's mom is just so frigid. I'm just like,
ice cream.
you want to tell her to relax, when you want to go into the book and tell this woman, just take a chill pill. Why are the mothers written in the way that they have? Because I think for black women especially, the way that we react to how mothers who misbehave and fathers who misbehave is very telling. When a man is bad or doesn't take care of his children, it's like, madoda.
Yeah.
But when a mother, for example, abandons her children, you go on Kumbuleka and everyone is affected with, how could she leave her children? We have such a complex relationship with motherhood as black people that we don't extend to black fatherhood. Black fathers are not necessarily always held to the same standards, So had it been Naledi's father who was bad, I swear everyone would have understood.
Yeah,
it would have been like,
madoda njani. Yeah, and it would not have made a big part of the story.
No, it wouldn't have.
I mean, it would have. But I specifically went for mothers because, and this is why I tell their stories somewhere in the book. I tell, their stories. We haven't gotten to Naledi's mother's reason for not being there for the kids. But it's because I think that we don't view our mothers as individuals, as
humans,
as people. They have a cycle. Their mothers will expect them to do this, expect them to love, to provide, to do this. But we never, there are people who don't know what their mothers like, what their favorite things are, what are they thinking, what do they like to do, what their dreams are. We don't have that. They're just mothers, and we expect them to be perfect and to take care of us and to do this and this, forgetting that they also go through things. They also have their stories, and those things influence how they behave and how they end up.
You think of how Usbani and Ulwandle are so harsh towards their mother, but their father really wasn't anything to write home about. I mean, these children at some point weren't even at school, and their father had been there. They weren't at school, they didn't even go to church, they didn't have Christmas clothes. Had it not been for Hlomu, they wouldn't have had those things, but their attitude towards their father is not as harsh as it is towards their mother. They're a lot more understanding of Nkosana, right? Because Nkosana at their father. Yeah. But they are so cold towards Uzandile that it's...
I guess because, Nkosana was always present and stuff, although he didn't know what he was doing. And, but he was there. And also there, because he's a man, he's a father, you don't expect much. But I think with... it goes back to that thing where we don't see our mothers
as humans.
That
scene where Zandile goes to the TV studios. I mean, I can see it playing out because of Zandile's temperament, right? If there's ever anyone who's going to go to a TV studio, it's Zandile. But why was it important for that scene to exist? I mean, Zandile, up to that point, had not really wanted to talk about her story. She hadn't even really explained to her children why things had happened the way that they had, But she goes to a TV show live, and she interrupts that whole broadcast to tell them exactly who she is and why.
What happened. So what led to that was when Nkosana was excited about the business deal that they had to do. And then when he had to go there, he says, no, don't worry about it. It's not going to work out. And then she realizes that actually it's the fact that there are all these stories about her that, they are now affecting the family and the business and how her husband is doing his work. So that is what prompted her to go there and say, you know what, let me just sort this out once and for all. I'm going to go there, I'm going to tell everybody what happened. If somebody wants to write something about me, it's better that they hear it from me. So it was just her trying to protect the family. And she does it exactly the way, of course.
Which is okay, right? I think that my favorite thing about these books is that these women aren't perfect. And it's really important because I think there's a standard that black women get held to, which is really unfair, right? Black women, you're either going to be a Kanye Hlomu or you're going to be a Kanye Mbao. You can never be in between, There's never room for you to be in between. Do you understand? You're either going to be Kanye Mbao or Kanye Hlomu. You just cannot be human. And for me, all of these women are written in ways that humanize them. Hlomu is Miss Perfect, but she's not sure who the father of this last child is. Naledi is great, but she is a spoiled brat, and she's not fully appreciative of the kind of person that Kawe is. Zandile throws things at people and they say things she doesn't like. And all of these women are multi-layered, and I think that's important to see black women like that, because that's who we are, right? We're not one or the other. Black women have stories, we have things. We're great, but sometimes we're not so great. We sometimes do things that we don't want to talk about in public, and we just never get given that room, right? Because you're either painted as one or the other, and if you're not a Kanyibao, then you have to be a Kanye. There's no room for you to be human, you know?
Yeah.
So that was some of my favorite things about these women, is that they all have a story, right? Like, I think it would have been easy for you to censor the Zulu brothers, who we will talk about, because I just have some feelings. but these women have stories, and I think that's why it resonated so deeply with the people who've read these books, right? That they could have just been, Hlomu could have just been Mkhele's wife, you know, or Zandile could have just been Kosana's wife, or Naledi could have just been Kawe's wife, and that's where it ends. But these are real women. I mean, outside of the Zulu men, they have stories, they have things, and I think it's a new way of writing about black women, and it's powerful, right? That we get portrayed in ways that you love Hlomu, but you also sometimes you're like, "Ay, Hlomu, stop this thing," like, you know. Why did you write some of your characters, particularly black women, so unlikable, you know? Like the aunt. Everyone has that relative who wants to drink Savannah in the morning. What are you doing? Like,
That is unlikable.
I mean, not unlikable for the people who've read the books, because we can relate, but I mean unlikable in terms of the standards that society sets for women, especially black women. Zandile is a jailbird. You think of how our society treats people who have been to jail, who've committed the kinds of crimes that Zandile has committed, but you still like Zandile. You're not, you know, it's not like weird to you that you like Zandile, even though Zandile is a murderer in the most traditional sense of the word. So that's the unlikable that we're talking about, the standards that exist for black women and the way in which we conduct ourselves.
I don't do perfect characters. I do not believe in them. I don't do I think that I also am into people who have some darkness in them. And those it's those women. They have some darkness in them. But I wasn't going to. No, look, man. I think I just wanted them to be the way they are. I mean, they had to have gone through stuff, and yeah, I don't know how to explain it. Like I'm blaming because I don't know how to explain it. But I wasn't. I mean, if Zadila had not been to jail, there would have been something about her that she had done in life that was dark and bad. But it's all also just about them rising above those things.
How do your characters come to you, right? Because I think that these are some really relatable characters. How do they... Because all of my friends have been able to identify with the books. Like, we can all say, oh, I'm this person in the book, or you're this person. And even if you want to fight the titles that they give you, it's fine. But everyone can identify to a person in the book, you know? Even if you just say, like, I have a cuckoo in my life. Like, I have that friend who is so glamorous. Like, you guys will be having lunch and she'll come full face beats and not wear flats, you know? And how do your characters come to you? Because Toni Morrison says that her character will be sitting and the character will come to her. She will see the character, they will meet her, she will talk to them. And until she gives them the right name, the character will not speak to her. And I harp on the name thing because the names in this book are very important.
Yeah. They are... look, I start with one person when I start writing. I start with the one person, and then they branch into a love interest, a sibling, a family, and that's how all these books went. You know, with Naledi, it's Naledi and Kawa, there's the best friend, and then there's the TD, and then there's the father, and then there's the. But also they're very much inspired by people I've met. You know, even if it's not people that are close to me, you know, just random people that I've met in my life. The relationships and the conversations that I've had. But when I write, I don't have a chart where I write there's going to be that lady and there's going to be her father. There's going to be this one and this one and this one, and then I sit down and write, and then I bring in the father and so on. It's something that as I write, it's something that just it goes. I get to understand the person that is narrating the story, and then start bringing people into their lives. It's I don't know how to explain it. this as well. I think it's a fiction writing thing. It's an out of body experience. It's you become that person, and you bring your cousin, and you bring another cousin, and then you bring a friend, and then you match them, and then they make one person, and then you have your full character.
Naledi. I really could relate with Naledi, and not just because she's also a doctor, but just like Naledi's personality, you know. Naledi finds a good thing, and she just cannot hold on to this good thing, right? She breaks up with Kawe on more than one occasion, but each time her reasons are they're shaky. Like, her reasons are really shaky.
She's petty.
She is petty, right? But she's all of our inner petty. She's all of, you know that there've been those times that you've been petty.
But a lot of girls behave like that.
But I thought it was interesting in that Naledi is the smart girl. She's a doctor. She has all these things going for her. She gets into an abusive relationship. She then has this person wreck her self-esteem. And for me, reading this and the way that she interacted with Kawe was a lot of that, right? That it was just a manifestation of those unhealed traumas that she didn't really deal with. Because on paper, Kawe is great, but she still cannot believe that this good thing is hers. And I think it is true. It's a lot of women, right? Because of the way in which the trashy men that we interact with scar and humiliate and bruise us, that when you find that good thing, it's very hard for you to recognize it. And how do you recognize it? Because that other bad thing started out as a good thing too, you know?
It's true. And with I think that Kawe figured out who the lady was very early in the story. And she did not know who she was. So he kind of just did a lot of things to try and get her to understand that this is the problem with you and we need to fix it. So I'm going to allow you to do all this crazy thing. I think like when he allowed her to be gone for those 2 weeks. Because like that's so atypical of any of the men in that family. Another man would have just gone there and said, hey, you're better, come here, come back. So then he just allowed her to just go and figure herself out. I think he knew she was going to come back anyway. So I think that whole journey was just this guy just trying to, help this woman find herself and confront her abandonment issues by her mother, so that she becomes the person that is pleasant to live with.
And also because you see all of the baggage that people carry into their relationships in this book a lot, right? So how Lisedi is just so detached and she's cold towards everybody, or how Tidi is just living her best life. Tidi is living her best. Tidi is my favorite because Tidi has this husband who's just annoying and he's boring and he's cheating on her, and we're all expecting Tidi to just be this frigid woman who stays and uyabegezela, because women uyabegezela, but her coping mechanism is interesting. She's coping. I mean, is Tidi not coping? We can all agree that Tidi is coping with this situation.
It's fine. She's got things under control.
She has things under control. I mean, you don't feel bad for Tidi. No one reads the story and it's like, shame, yes, it's Tidi. We're all like, yes, Tidi, get your life, girl. Go do it, And I loved that about them, because on the outside, you see them as this perfect family. They've been raised by this father who is just so dedicated and he's so great. But they're imperfect. They're imperfect. Despite all of the things that their father has done, they are just imperfect. Yeah. And even their father is not perfect. Is not so perfect.
Listen, I think that Monjone is just my favorite person in that book. I don't know. I just love him. I think that had he not been in the book, it would have lacked something. I don't know why, but it's just...
His goals, right? His dad, he beats up her father. I mean, he beats up her boyfriend.
And it makes sense.
It does. It does. But it also speaks to, I think, her father wants her to get married but doesn't want her to have a boyfriend. So I'm reading this, I'm like, this is every black family that exists. Because her boyfriend comes and the father gets angry. But I mean, she's what? She's like 27. She's old. She's almost 30. She's old. And her father still is holding on to this idea. And I think that's a lot of black families, right? That they want the husband, but the process of getting the husband is not one that they're comfortable with.
And they want a certain type of boyfriend.
Yes.
You can't just bring the guy from the Texas.
But Kawe is not that. I mean, she's a doctor, he's a taxi owner. There are just some questions that I have.
That's the problem.
And I'm sure Una lady has not ever been on a taxi in her life, you know.
Yeah.
So I found that whole relationship interesting. I think out of all of the brothers, Kawe is my favorite brother.
I know, yeah. A lot of people.
He's probably everyone's favorite.
Because
right?
yeah.
He's a good guy, guys. Kawe is a good guy. You know, like he even does things and you're like, hey, she gave her his Maserati. You know? And
but that was, I mean, like no, a guy who does that is not. Ukuchama ngemoto.
Not kutumchama ngemoto. Not even. She blocked his car. I mean, how this relationship even started. If that had been me, I don't think I would have even looked for Una lady. I mean, she blocked his car. She comes out. She doesn't even have 350 to unclamp this car. So she's making her problems his. Okay, it's fine. It's okay. Okay, it's okay. This is love, I guess. But she continuously just misbehaves. I mean, we're so used to stories where the woman is the one obegezelayo throughout the man's bad behavior. But it's a complete polar opposite. Naledi is the problem in the story. Her father even knows that she's the problem. You know, her father even says, no, here it's you, my child. And Kawe is the one who's doing the work of like just, you know, ish, but I love her. You know how usually it would be the woman telling her friend, no, but I love him. That is Kawe. You know,
he's patient.
He is patient.
But
he's patient. He's
saying his patience.
It runs out, right? Yeah. Which is, of course, it's the truth. I mean, no, I don't think that anyone can be eternally patient, but he's patient for a lot of things that Una lady does. So I want to talk about the men in this book. So obviously, Kawe is my favorite because he's great. Mkhele, everyone seems to love Mkhele. Is that the reaction that you're getting? That
I am, and
why?
Like people are attached. Their hearts. It's like that guy that you love there, but you shouldn't love it. You shouldn't. Yeah, you shouldn't marry. But you can't help it because you just. Your heart is there.
My heart is no way from Khele.
So he's that guy.
He is. Because
that guy.
You read the book, right? And you don't want to like Khele. You really don't, you know. He bruises Hlomu, the brother. Gosana has to come talk to him. But you're still rooting for them. They're still that couple that you enjoy. You know, they're in public. They're affectionate. I mean, I think just as black people, we come from environments where... Not that we frown upon affection, but I think we're very rigid about the ways in which people express their affection. And Umkhele and Hlomu have none of that. They will be in the mall, just can't get enough of each other. So I guess I can see why people maybe like Umkhele.
No, but I think also because, and you guys cannot deny this, every woman, secretly or not secretly, you love bad boys. You love men that have a little...
just a touch, dude. Yeah, just a touch.
You know,
just
somebody is just going to rattle you, just make you a little fearful. Somebody is going to remind you that, you know...
Sometimes you don't even want to change him. He just must have a touch of that thing.
Yeah.
Cloudy meme, that thing.
To make you feel like, you know, yeah, well, I'm a woman, I'm delicate, and he's a man, and he's big, and he's a... I think that's why a lot of people love Mkhele.
And Nkosana is one of my favorite characters in this book. But undercover, right? So Nkosana is, I think in Uzandile we start to see his soft side, because before that, Nkosana is just, you know, he's the oldest, he's had to lead, he's had to just be in control. But you see the softer side of Nkosana with Uzandile, and it's just beautiful to witness, right? That there is a soft side to this ultra masculine.
I think every man has that woman, that one woman who does that. It's a woman or a daughter. It's like, but there's that woman.
So I think it's interesting that you made them the Zulu brothers. We need to talk about the Zulu brothers. I have some feelings about them. They come from this rags to riches, and you almost can't recognize them in Naledi, right? These, when they walk down the ramp, I was like, what's going on? These guys went from wearing Brentwood. They were in Brentwood. In Hlomu, I can see these guys in Brentwood. Nama tracksuit we Adidas, ne Nike, and to these guys who can buy a spa for their wives. Did you want that to be a commentary on how people can rise above their circumstances? Why did you make them that?
I wanted the story to move. I wanted life to improve. Because when the book started, they did have money. They just, it was just there. cash, 10 rand, 10 rand, the taxi collections. But it was there. It was a lot. And they had stolen a lot of money before that.
Yeah.
So they did have money. We don't know where they were hiding it because they were not putting it in a bank. But it was there.
It was in a bank. It was in the Zulu bank. It was in a bank.
Yeah. Well, but it was there. And but also as they met these women, as they met Hlomu, when they were growing and life was going on, and she was taking the kids to the good schools, and she was introducing them to these great things, and they were registering the business. They were
getting a lawyer.
They were getting a lawyer, getting an accountant. They were having business meetings, and they were meeting these people. Although I don't know if they can speak English. So they were meeting these people. So it just, it improved over the years. Because Hlomu goes on for 12 years. The whole book is 12 years. So it is 12 years. And they become celebrities. And they, get exposed to this life outside the taxi rank. But they can never leave the taxi rank. They have not left the taxi rank. They're still, their roots are still there. But they've ventured into other businesses. So. Yeah. So it is a rags to riches story, and they did work for it. Even though some of the work was illegal, but they did work for. They did for their success.
And also, you talk about so it is a rags to riches. I think that the Zulus are the original BEs. If we think about it, I think we have a very static idea of what BE is. It's not necessarily Cyril buying the first McDonald's, Sometimes it is just that black person who starts from the bottom and really works their way up with no assistance, right? So there were no tenders that were assisting the Zulu families.
They were just guns.
They were just guns and a little bit of blood. But it's also important to me that you talk about how they continue to speak isiZulu, because I think that as a people we associate success and moving up in the world with anglicization, right? So you must become more English. Your children must be unable to speak isiZulu for you to have made it. So when Naledi says she can't figure out with their sons whether they've grown up in this good in this wealthy family, or they behave like Bakulele Tembis, and I just thought that was so powerful. These boys have gone to some of the best private schools in the country, but they come from the kind of environment that's helped them to stay in touch with their roots. And sometimes, why does progress have to look like us not looking like ourselves anymore? So I thought that was great that they still get there. And when she describes them eating ulusu and just being problematic, maybe they're not in Brentwood when they eat ulusu anymore.
Well, not anymore.
Do you have a favorite male character? Because we all have a Zulu man that is just our favorites. Who's your favorite Zulu man and why?
In all of them.
No,
I'm not saying all of them. I'm saying in all of them. It's like you're trying to make me choose between my children.
Who's your favorite child? That's literally what I'm asking you.
Favorite child? Who's that?
Who's the ideal man in the story?
No, guys. I created these people. So they're like my children. So now they're asking me. I don't have a crush on them like you guys do. It really makes sense. But I'm closer to Umkhele. I think because... No, I don't have a crush on him or anything. I'm closer to him because all of his brothers came from what I made him. He was. I had to develop him from scratch, and all of the people in his family that came from who he is. They were inspired by who he is, and it's just emotionally I understand him more. Sometimes I defend him when people hate him, which is wrong and everything. But I think it's because I understand him better. But I don't have a crush on I kind of have a crush on these guys. Sort of makes sense.
I think they all sort of embody a characteristic that we'd find attractive in a man. So Nkosana comes and fixes things. Nkosana just takes control. You don't have to worry. He's king, right? You don't have to worry. If you have a Nkosana, you're like, okay, it's sorted. I'm good. You get Mkhele who's just going to love you, and I think that it's telling because Mkhele loves his wife very publicly, right? And it's a celebration of black love. Like he walks into places and he looks for his wife. She's not an accessory to him. She's a very important part of his life. And Pao is just that man that puts up with all your nonsense, you know. You're just like, yes. I'm sorry, but you know, he puts up, he enjoys.
Great. I think Pao, he's very wise.
Yes, he is.
And he's very, you know, he's a thug, but he's not as
He's a thug with emotional intelligence.
As, you know, he's not as thuggish as Kyle and some people. Those are people that will just beat the shit out of anyone.
Yeah.
You know? But you know, he's a thug, but also he's a bit of a.
He's a cultured thug, right? Yeah.
You know, he loves his food proper. You know, he's a health freak. He's, you know, he has this house that is class. But he's still a thug. And he's probably more thuggish than all of them.
He's a thug with emotional intelligence. So we're all like, yeah, it's okay, it's understandable. I want to know about the names. Why did you choose the names that you chose in the book? I mean, so you get a Hlomu, you get a Zandile, you get a Naledi, you get a Nkosana and a Mkele and Mkoki, but I don't know what's Mkoki because it's just a mess. Like, he's a mess. He's an actual mess. He's like that relative you love, but they're a mess.
Okay, well, I mean, there had to be a book there in the book. The names are, they are there. They do exist.
Yeah.
In KwaZulu Natal, deep rural, where you name a child, where the name of a child is very, very important, and they are named by one person in the family, and they have to be deep names, and they have to be masculine, and they have to, you know, just say something. You know, you can't just call your child Ayanda when you're not, just because it's a cute name. So they do it. There's a lot of Kosadas, and there are Mkheles. There's not a lot of Mkheles. There are a lot of Kawas. But I just chose those names because I think they resonate with who these men are, and the fact that they are, you know, just how am I going to describe them? You know, they possess power, and yeah, that's why.
Okay.
But they are sexy names, and I understand.
Yeah,
why
they're
women
beautiful names. I think a lot of people, we read those books and there are
Yeah.
some baby names in there. There are some baby names in
A
there.
lot of babies.
There are quite a few. We might have to create a Sutu in like 10 years. Yes. So just moving forward, we want to know when the next book is out. People will kill me if I don't ask you this question. When is the next book out? We need a time and a place to do, and we need to know who we can ask when this book does not come out.
And people ask me that all the time. Okay, look, it was supposed to come out in 2017, but
It's 2018, girl.
Yeah. It was, I planned, but for some reasons I couldn't.
In Bonang's
But I
voice,
need
to give the people what they want. Bah, fake it.
So another thing is that I've gotten involved in a lot of things because of the Hlomu.
Yes.
Like a lot of projects. Like for instance, I have I'm doing a book based on a movie, and it's gonna come out soon because the movie is coming out on the 29th of February. So I kind of had to push some things aside because I'm doing some other things.
Okay.
But yeah.
No, but now we need a commitment.
I can't do that.
She said a lot, right? Does everyone feel like she said a lot, but she hasn't said much?
But I'm explaining why.
Okay, so
Yeah.
2018,
But
can we
I
hold
can't-
out?
Yeah, I have to.
Okay. No, you
I
have
said
to.
that last year. I have to deliver it.
No, you really do.
2018.
Because people know you and they know where you live and work.
Yeah, they have my
And they're
number.
going
They
to
send me
call you.
WhatsApp.
We're going to WhatsApp her. I think that's what we need to do. We need a collective WhatsApp
I
group.
see people at balls and they're like, where's book 4? They don't even say, hi, Dudu, how are you? I'll be walking and somebody says, where's book 4?
So that was the first thing I got. I told a friend. I sent her the picture. She's like, Alma, I can't make it, but just ask her when's book 4. I'm like, oh, do you have any questions for her? She's like, no, when's book 4 coming out? I'm like, okay. And after that, no, just when's book 4. I'm like, okay. Will there be a movie? I know you've committed to not ever doing a series, but never is a long time.
Well, look, I've and for the past 3 years, I think I've been called by I don't know how many production companies who want to do other series or a movie, but I am talking to some people that I think are people that I decided to talk to. They want to do a TV series, and just kind of giving them a go ahead to develop something and come back to me and say this is how we're going to do it. And but I can always just pull out of it. It's I don't have to have a TV series, but if there's an opportunity, it's fine. I'm
Okay.
open to anything.
Which leads me to my next question. What's next for Dudu, Busani, Dube? Outside of the Hlomu series, I think we really explored the Hlomu. But what's next for you?
What's next? I'm not thinking about that. I mean, I'm 36. I'm in my future, so I'm just living life. And,
But 36 is young.
Yeah, no, but I think I decided when I reached 33 or something that actually I'm in my future. Like, I'm just going to take things as they come. I have a lot of things that are the opportunities that are coming to me, so I'll take. And I've come to understand in the past year that I can let some opportunities pass. You know, some good opportunities. I don't have to take them just because they're there, they're good. I have to take things that I can handle. So I'm just living my life, and I'm happy. And I'm just happy.
Just so in closing, before I open up to the audience, we just want to say a massive big shout out and a thank you to you for writing this book. I think that there's an audience, obviously people listening to the podcast won't be able to see this amazing audience, but when I spoke to Griffin first and I was like, I want to have Dudu here at the show, whatever, he was like, okay, we need to do it in the Maboneng store because she has a massive following and there are going to be so many people who show up, and I think this is just the antithesis to all of these stories about black people not reading. We do read when the stories can relate to us. And even when they don't, I don't believe that black people don't read. I think that you are proof of that. The amazing support that you've received for Hlomu, the series, where people are mobbing you for book 4, is testament to that, and it's also testament to what it looks like for people to write in their truth. And I just think I speak on behalf of everybody when I say we are so grateful for this book that you've written. It is the truth, it is the things. And we honestly cannot wait for book 4. I think that Dudu is doing amazing work in just archiving black women's stories. And also just showing that black women are multifaceted. We don't have to be one thing. We can be many things. You can be a Naledi in your lifetime. You can be a Hlomu. You can even be a Zandile, right? And that redemption and all of these things exist for black women. So a big thank you to Dudu Busani Dube just for being so approachable as well.
And also, you know what's great? What's great is that I've had people say to me, I'd never read a book since high school. So when I picked up a book and then I read it, and now they want to read books. So now they go and they buy other books that are not even the Hlomu series, and they read those books, and just the reading culture is just so beautiful. I mean, in the past 3-4 years, it's just gone. It's great.
It's great. It really is. So I'm going to open this up to all of the people in the audience. People have been mobbing me with questions about you and for you and about the series. So this is your time. You don't know when you might see Dudu again before she becomes an award-winning playwright. I don't know what's next for you. So if you have any questions for Dudu, now is the time. You look like you have a question. What is your question?
Okay.
Thank you for writing the book. We all 4 of us,
Wow.
including others, we are a book club.
Oh, nice.
We have thus 2 books. Actually, it was supposed to be 1 because you were allowed to only choose 1 as a book club member. But after we chose 1, which was Hlomu,